Talisman Tactica, strength versus craft. That's what we're going to explore in this vlog, asking the question, how do we gain an advantage? Whether it's strength or craft, how do we maintain that advantage? One of the things in Talisman is tactically, I've pushed this up to the Talisman board game playlist, I'm trying to control that random. There's a lot of D6 coming at me. I'm drawing adventure cards. I don't quite know what it's going to be. I'm rolling D6s, hoping to beat a certain score. I don't know what that's going to be. I'm rolling a D6 on the card, and all I know is like 6, I gain something, 1, I get turned into a toad. I'm trying to control that D6. So I do that through fate. I do that through gaining bonuses. Like before I even roll the D6, I get like a +5 to it. I do that to things where I can take away the D6. Maybe a magic object that before I roll the dice, I burn the object and I get to select my number value. Or maybe instead of rolling dice, I teleport. Or maybe I roll 2 dice, drop the lowest, take the highest. I'm trying to control it, influence it as best as I can. Within that, though, most of Talisman is this idea of strength and craft value as a starting point. So when I roll the D6, I'm going to add those elements on. And strength, of course, represents strength, and craft represents intelligence, moving into magic. And we definitely need to explore magic. So within that framework, the second aspect of the game is it's a timed game. Whether we're racing for the crown of command, it's a revealed ending, a hidden ending, I got to get there before everybody else. And hopefully I'm ready to do that. So we see the game broken down into the beginning game, mid-game, end game, where I make that run for the crown of command or that space, whatever the ending is going to be. So I need to make the best moves that I can. The best moves that I can to leverage the advantages I have, because we're all going up against that timer. This is why, on a side note, why losing a turn in Talisman, like, it's going to happen, and it's a problem because it adds up, right? Certain spells like immovability or mind fog or other spells that just kind of prevent a player from missing a turn, or opposite, time warp. Trying not to give away any spoilers here. I get to take 2 moves after moving, or 2 turns. That's the same as everybody else missing a turn. That adds up over 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, however many game turns. One missed game turn becomes like 10 or 15 from that perspective. So I'm trying to leverage as fast as I can. Now, we draw our character. Some characters are about equal, meaning plus or minus within the same strength or craft. What this means is I can really kind of go either way, either variable, depending on how I level up, the cards that I draw, the trophies I trade in. Eventually one stat will pull ahead, and that'll be kind of the stat that I go for. Other characters are really loaded up on a stat. An example would be the Troll. We're talking about base game, because everyone's got the base game. Troll's got mad strength. Wizard's got great craft. Well, that kind of makes sense. If I'm playing the Troll and I have greater than average starting strength, I want to pursue a strength path in terms of encounters and rolls, because I'm already 1, 2, or 3 points ahead potentially than other players. That means I've cut down on turns, right? If I've got starting strength of 6, and you've got starting strength of 4, well, if you're trying to level up your strength, just to go from 4 to 5 to 6, 2 sets of trophy trade-ins, you've got to get those somehow, or 2 rolls of events, you've got to get those somehow. Well, I'm already at that, and I'm already building it. So you look and say, based on the other characters, if I'm an average strength, average craft character, I could go either way, but someone's playing and they've got a +2, +3, plus higher bonus on strength, I'm not going strength. I'm going craft. So we kind of look there. And then there's some players that are just, they don't have one stat. It's a dump stat. I pushed up to the archive last week. We're exploring some of the different characters that I like playing, tier 3 characters that are for the lulls. They kind of are unique and got some interesting powers. The Swindler, I pushed him up. He's one of them. It's got a strength 1. Strength 1. First time you draw that, you're like, is that a misprint? Where's like the the update? There's no way that's strength 1. What am I going to do with one little cone? That's like nothing. I'm never leveling up strength. Well, it's the abilities that make a difference with it. But sometimes the stat is so low where you're like, I'm just not going to pursue it. So that's the first tactica. What is my value? That's the highest that I'm going to leverage versus the value of other players in the game because I'm looking to complete turns as efficiently as I can. Now, on a side note, and we're going to jump into this and push up some Talisman Tactica, additional Tactica on that in the playlist, magic is so important in the game. You need access to magic. So if I'm playing a craft strong character, or I've drawn some good things that have gotten me to craft, yeah, I'm going to build on that. But even if I'm a strength-based character, I'm going to be primarily focusing on developing my strength. I do want to get my craft to a point where at least, while it's not the primary focus, at least access to one spell. So if we draw kind of the card, I'm spacing on the name, that like everyone, I think it's like, like Magic Aura or something, where everyone gains access to their full complement of spells, you need to have the craft to do that. Likewise, there's certain objects that I might grab or vendors that pop up that give you the ability to have a spell. Yes, it's random. Yes, if I'm not a mage character that every time I burn a spell I get more, I might be stuck with a spell that's not that great, but I want to have access to magic for certain spells that I can use endgame. If I don't have that high starting craft, I'm not going to pump everything into it because that timer's counting. We're making our way to the Crown of Command. But even if I'm full strength based, the troll or the warrior, I'm going to push that. I want to get some craft up. The opposite does not play out. If I'm playing a craft-based character like the wizard, where I'm going to go in that direction, I have spells, then I'm really not going to try and spend the time building up my strength. It's just not worth that. Although, Talisman being Talisman, you got to go with the random. I'm trying to control that random, but I got to go with that random. There are some times, and there have been some games where you're like, I don't know what the heck happened, but we're here like moving into middle end game, and Wizard has like 7 craft, but like 18 strength. How the heck did that even remotely happen? So occasionally that does happen where the dice and the randomness will take you on a path. And if it does, then you're totally going to embrace that.